all the way from Rwanda, who is going to talk about very interesting subjects that ideally we are all ready and waiting to hear. So the speaker for today is going to talk about language, culture, and connection, embracing diversity for a better future. The professor is named Professor Pacifique Malonga. And before I invite him, I'll just like us to just continue sending the link to our colleagues. And yes, so I'm going just to invite the professor to speak, and then people will be joining as he just starts off the conversation. Professor Pacifique Malonga is an excellent African, he has excelled in African Academy of Languages, that is the ACALAN. Additionally, he also serves there as the Kiswahili Commissioner, the BECOS Coordinator, and more importantly, he is the AFRICASIA Secretary General. Professor Pacifique Malonga, he has authored many educational books, and independent journals. I myself, I would like to attest that I have myself read some of the books that Professor Malonga has written. And he has written a lot of books that ideally many African people are waiting to hear and read them. So therefore, please join me in appreciating, as we welcome to the floor, Professor, to start off his amazing presentation. So please join me in appreciating the professor. Thank you very much, Professor. The floor is yours.
You may wish to know that the president of OPPRC initially comes from Chad. Anybody from there? No. Anyway, all of you, wherever you are, from Africa, from Asia, as Gloria has said, speaking as the Secretary General of the AFRICASIA, that is Africa and Asia Initiative, I greet you all in the name of peace. And as Gloria has just said, the OPPRC, I caught the word silencing the gun. Very unfortunately, silencing the gun is not that easy because there are people who understand only the language of the gun. And the only language they understand is the gun, which is very dangerous. Now that I was told or I was requested to talk about language, let me use that expression that silencing the gun means silencing the language of the gun. That's what it means. And from there, what is language now? Language is a word that is widely and heavily complicated. Complicated in the sense that it has so many meanings. Because there is a language with the capital L, and then there is language with small l. What does it mean exactly? If you tell me what is your language, those who speak French would understand it a bit easier because language is, the langue. Langue to mean anybody's language, like langue française, that is French, langue anglaise, that is English, and so on and so forth. If I were to ask any Kenyan on the line, what language do you speak? Most of them will tell me they speak Swahili, but they will tell you that they have their mother tongue. And that tongue there is also a language. I don't know who you people where to come from, but I heard somebody from Rwanda. If I were to say Amakuru, that would be a language that I called Lang. And yet Lang is the tongue. Tongue in Kiswahili would be Ulimi. Ulimi in Kiswahili, or Ururimi in Kinyarwanda, and many Bantu languages would understand what I mean. But this is not the language, by the way. Because if I say, for example, again, as I said, it's a very wide field, that my tongue, that is a physical, biological, yet contrary, not that contrary, but not meaning the lung or the tongue or the language. We have African Academy of Languages, of which I'm a commissioner. So when we say African Academy of Languages, you have already changed what is a lung into languages, because it is in plural this time. But all in all, what is common? The common denominator is the communication, is the meaning you want to convey. And again, the meaning is also wide, because what I say is not necessarily what I mean. Very bad. Sometimes so many people, what they say, what they speak is not what they mean. You may ask me how. Exactly why some people say what they don't mean, and they mean what they don't say. So the meaning, again, becomes a bit complicated. That is where this subject I was given to elaborate becomes a bit more and more complicated, even to me. Because in some cultures, silence means consent. I grew up in a Swahili by culture, in a Swahili community. And yet, being from Swahili is negative in one way. It means somebody who is not language of Dagan. And thanks once again for Gloria mentioning that OPPRC language is about meaning silencing the gun. But again, as I said, it's not that easy. Silencing, because there are people who only understand the language of the gun. And that is where now my young people Nzuki would say, tell us about conflicts resolution. Again, conflict is also another complicated element. We all are human beings with internal latent, we call it latent conflict. You live with someone somewhere, but you do not feel, you do not behave, you have some kind of antagonism between you and them. And that is where the conflict starts from. It is we and them. We who is me and him, me and her, me and you. And that is where the conflict starts. We what? Them what? Then that is a conflict. And that is where you silence the gun. Because the moment you start calling them, you start calling yourself you or me, it is in opposition to somebody else. And that is the conflict now. What do you want to share? Yet you have to live together. If we are born individually, even twins are definitely different. They have the same human being, but they are still different in their concepts, in their minds. So you have to come up with a way of making people reduce, minimize that conflict, which may be latent, because conflict doesn't mean fighting. It's like peace. Peace is not about gun only. People may not be fighting, but they may not necessarily be at peace with each other. That's quite complicated again. It needs really more than 20, 25, 30 minutes I was given by my organizers, my coordinators, Gloria and Zuki. So maybe to come a bit closer to what you should take home or should take to your mind is that conflicts are natural. They are not really, they are human. Because nobody is an angel. I don't even know whether angels don't have conflict. Because even conflicts started, even in heaven, I'm told. I wasn't there. But I understand there was a gentleman, I don't know whether there was a gentleman or a woman, called Satan. So the moment you come up with some differences, either with your brother, either with your sister, either with your parent, conflicts are always there, but they are not necessarily, they do not come out. And once they come out, you need to appease them, to calm them down so that you can live peacefully. And that is why my neighbors across Sudan, DRC, sometimes you hear fighting over what? What is a big conflict? Sometimes they fight over just a language. Now this is a Rwanda speaker and a Malingara speaker. Somebody is a Kikongo speaker, and it becomes a problem. It creates a big conflict. Now they run to guns, or to machetes, or to whatever you want, or to words, because words can even be much more harmful than a pistol sometimes. I sent you yesterday night a nice video, a small, short video, and I'm glad Nzuki told me he knows the gentleman. A gentleman pretending to be a professor, and somebody with a gun on his head, and the professor in court tells the young man, because the young man said, "Give me each and everything you have, or else I shoot you." And the professor in court turned back and said, "Young man, calm down and let me give you this." So the man used his words, showing him how he can do better to have a better life than shooting people, not especially professor. And I laughed. I called some of my friends. I said, look, this is a man who knows how to pretend to be a professor, but he puts it in such a way that the language of professors is the language that really peace and appeases and make people at peace with themselves. And the young man said, thank you, Professor, I will come for the job. Because the professor told him, if you do not shoot me, but you go back to wherever you come from, and you consider this country and what professors can do, then you will have a better life. So we all have better lives if we can only understand, if we can only listen, if we can only read, if we can only write, if we can only speak peace, then we are developing. So in other words, apart from the reading, the writing, the speaking, and what have you, you have to get a mind or a heart that listens, that speaks to others. You move from yourself to others and don't call them or you. In French, you singular is totally different from you plural. And sometimes when people start conflicting or disagreeing, if you want to compromise, if you want to facilitate, if you want to resolve that conflict, you call one man or one woman, you say, vous, monsieur. Vous, monsieur means you in plural. You make him so big and so wide and so large, and you say, vous, madame. One single individual, you make her or him, vous, madame, vous, monsieur. Because if you say, toi, madame, toi, monsieur, the fellow would feel a bit humiliated, a bit, you have reduced his or her personality to a common man. So if you want to make him come down, you will say, vous, madame, vous, monsieur. So that is the power of the language now. And sometimes you have to know how to use it so that you reduce the conflict. Of course, I have always believed that conflicts are not resolved, not at all. When somebody tells me, Professor Malonga, I'm a specialist in conflict resolution, I simply put a question mark. What conflict have you resolved? But you manage them to the contrary. Conflict management, not a resolution necessarily, because you will never know whether you have resolved them or they are still there. They may be latent. They may not be out. They may be latent, but they are still there. Sleeping conflict. But if you can manage them for some time, which is okay, because the gun will never, let me say it 3 times, the gun will never be silent. It may be silent in Sudan today, and I wish it is. It may be silent in Kivu today, and I wish it is. But tomorrow it may move from Kivu to Kinshasa. It may move to Brazzaville, to wherever you want. But the only way to manage the conflict, as my young people would ask me to talk about, would be to learn how people behave, how people speak, how people write, how people talk, and you learn how to make them, how to minimize the conflict by trying to convince them through a beautiful language, beautiful words. in Kinyarwanda, which I speak very well, though I'm Swahili or a Rwandan Swahili phone or Anglophone, whatever you are, they say, Akarimi case. Now I'm coming back to language, to tongue. It means if you can soften, if you can modify your words, you will be close to God and the positive God, or God with the capital God, yeah? Because even if you go to the Holy Scripts, they will tell you at the beginning, God was the Word, and the Word was God. Au commencement, c'était la parole, et la parole était Dieu, et la parole était avec Dieu. That is a bit again complicated. But what does it mean? It means learn how to use your words, learn how to use your language, learn how to read people's minds, read their minds, and know how to silence the gun, not to silence the people. Somebody tells me, now, how do you help people resolve their conflicts? I say, they will never resolve their conflict because they are inborn, they are natural, but they can learn how to calm them down, how to manage them so that they do not create more conflict by they reduce them. I have always believed in my philosophy and my old people, my old professor, my old community, where people learn how to respect people's language. I have given you an example. If I would simply pronounce the word stupid, only pronouncing it, people would start saying, hey, who is stupid here? So you will have raised and magnified the latent conflict which is natural in human beings, and you have made them angry. Everybody starting challenging. Who is that man insulting me? What is insult? An insult is just the way you arrange words, and they become very vulnerable and very, very heavy, very hard to swallow. And that is where now you have the gun. You have the whatever gun you may use. So in brief, the language of conflict management, not a resolution, would be your character. Learn how to be humble. Learn how to respect. So language is about respect. Language is about humility. Language is about teaching. Language is about reading. We read in the books that you see in, if you are a Muslim or you, wherever and whatever you are, you learn how to read. Learn how to listen. Learn how to write. Writers don't fight. No, they don't fight. Listeners don't fight. No, because you are busy listening. And somebody else is busy listening. But the moment you close the listening, the door of listening, then you are becoming harmful. If somebody is reading and somebody else is reading, like in a library, then you will never fight. That is OPPRC now. OPPRC is about peace. So if you want to maintain peace, you go reading, go writing, go listening, go speak. If you don't speak, if you don't go speaking, you will fight. But if you start speaking to each other, listening to each other, writing, You will not find. Don't keep quiet. Much as I believe in some behaviors, some cultural setups, they tell you if speaking is of gold, they will tell you so many things. Praising the art of silence. Si la parole est d'argent, le silence est d'or. Others will tell you silence means consent. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. If you have something in your mind which doesn't satisfy you, the best way is to speak it out, is to write it out. Then there you are, you will be going into the line of OPPRC, where peace, resolution, or management, as far as I'm concerned, that is the beginning of making resolutions, making decisions. But again, as I said, we live in a society, in an African society, with different communities, with different behaviors, sometimes collective, and some other times individual. So individuals sometimes, and most of the times, for a better life, have to suppress their individualism and go into collective listening, collective sharing of ideas. And on this note, please let me stop here, because as I said, it's a very wide, because language is the whole world. I told you language of the world is very much as it has got the simple alphabet for most of the largest part of the world, from A to Z through B, C, D. It needs how you adjust in writing, in speaking, how you make your message. And the only way to silence the gun is through learning how to adjust, how to advance, how to put forward your words so as to make the world or others peaceful, avoiding divisive mechanisms where, because the conflict, as I said, is me and you, or we and them, or us and them, because them means a lot. It's a whole world of those people, those, not us. So I can only conclude by saying language is very complicated, but yet the way you use your words, your vowels, your consonant, through writing, through reading, through listening, through speaking, may make a better world. It's my humble prayer that much as I may not be able to simplify or to summarize this wide topic, I can only say, learn how to respect, learn how to listen, learn how to read what others have to show, and then we shall come to the issue, to our objectives, where life is about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pains. That is the whole goal of each and every one in this world. Come from Kenya, come from India, come from Africa, come from Asia, come from wherever. We are all aspiring to maximize pleasure and minimize pains. So much as I, Pacifique, want to maximize my pleasure and minimize my pains, I should think of others also maximizing their pleasure and minimizing their pains. That is my humble prayer for you all, and I wish you all the best. Nzuki, are you
Please,
there?
a round of applause to our speaker. That was an amazing presentation. Please, we can do better than that. We can do definitely better than that. Professor Malonga, that was an amazing presentation. I am particularly impressed, and I am definite that everyone on this call has learned the importance of language in peaceful conflict resolution. So please join me in on the count of 3, 2, 1 to say thank you, Professor. Asante sana, Professor. Please, on the count of 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Asante sana, Professor. Asante
Asante
sana.
sana.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Nashukuru
Asante
sana.
sana.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you.
Shukran, shukran.
So thank you so much, Professor. We are opening kama mtu ako na swali. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and ask our professor. Professor has written so many books. So Professor, maybe you can later on share with us the names of those books so that sisi ambao tuko kwenye hii call we can definitely learn a lot more from you. So please, once again, thank you. Is there anyone with a question? Okay, so we have 10 minutes to time, and I'm just going to ask Professor to just take like 2 more minutes just to explain to us maybe Kiswahili as a language, just in 2 minutes, so that we end this call just appreciating Kiswahili.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. As you said, when we started, ACALAN, African Academy of Languages, that is African Union Department, and the Kiswahili Commissioner for Rwanda and Farmers Beyond, definitely. In fact, for those who have heard about me, they always associate my name with Kiswahili promotion. And again, I'm coming back to the topic, that is language. If we could speak Kiswahili, we would have reduced. If Africans could speak Kiswahili, they would definitely reduce a lot of conflicts. Because you take a case of a country I know somewhere like Tanzania, most of Tanzanians have their own tribal languages. But for the case of the sake of unity and the sake of citizenship and the sake of patriotism, they have decided to use Kiswahili as their common language and their common denominator. That's why you will hardly know who is a Muchaga, who is a Muhaya, who is a Munyakyusa, and what have you. Contrary to countries where people speak their mother tongues and raising some suspicion. Because Nzuki would talk to his fellow man from the same place. When I'm next to them, I start wondering why they are, betraying me, and yet they are not. But that complex is in me, is natural in me, is in my inner conflict. They will create conflict in me, which I may not express at that particular time, but I will start, imagining, what are they saying? What are they telling each other, not to me? Why are they excluding me? But the moment you start speaking one language, people would really feel the same. They will try to ignore what could be their differences and feel as one. So that is why I brought about Kiswahili in Rwanda, Kiswahili in East Africa, Kiswahili in Africa, and Kiswahili in the whole world through an association called CHAUKIDU. CHAUKIDU means Chama cha Ukuzaji Kiswahili Duniani, means duniani. That is Kiswahili Promotion, Kiswahili Association, Kiswahili World Association. So that is how I came up with Kiswahili Promotion. And coming back to what Gloria was saying, what are my books? Shortly, immediately I get off the line, I will send you a photo where I show you about 15 books which I have published in all these languages, Kiswahili, English, French, and Ikinyarwanda. Which Ikinyarwanda is, by the way, for your information, Ikinyarwanda is not the language spoken in Rwanda, no. It's a language spoken even in Burundi. It's only that they call it Kirundi, but it is in Tanzania they call it Kihangaza, Ikiha, they call it Kinyamurenge, they call it Kikiga in Rwanda, they call it names, but it is the same language, but with some little kind of dialect. So for those who speak Swahili, they call it Lahaja, because even Kiswahili in Zanzibar is not necessarily the same as Kiswahili spoken in Goma. It's not the same as Kiswahili spoken in Ngara or in Mbeya or elsewhere or in Kisumu. No, it's like French. It's not because in Belgium they speak French, but they are not French people. In Switzerland they speak French. They are not the French people. It's not Quebec. In Quebec they speak French, but it's not the French people. No. That's why sometimes I tell my people from across I mean in Goma, Bukavu, elsewhere in Congo, I tell them, people, stop fighting over who speaks what language. No, it's not because somebody speaks Kinyarwanda that he becomes a Munyarwanda. No way. Because if a Canadian speaks French, he doesn't become a Frenchman. And of course, I'm not going into politics, into conflict. I'm going into linguistics. It's not that so and so speaks that language that you simply bring in unnecessarily conflicts. No, you shouldn't. You should rather, language should be a unifying factor. So I have written so many books. And the other day I was blessed. I was given a prize of outstanding writer in Rwanda. And I thank those who thought I could do the same. I thank the ambassador. I have got so many ambassadors, good friends. But one time, sometime in June, I met the Kenyan ambassador and the Tanzanian ambassador, and I teased them in Kiswahili, and we were happy. And the Pakistani gentleman, ambassador, he told me I also speak Swahili. So I've been giving them these books somewhere else and elsewhere. And if you can join me through my group, then we can promote Kiswahili wherever you are, and we can make a difference. And of course, tomorrow, the world will tell. Otherwise, let us be together, promote Kiswahili. I'm trying my best to take it to Asia through AFRICASIA. AFRICASIA initiative. AFRICASIA initiative is with the OPPRC. You have always seen the symbols. We are teaming up. We are doing the same and see how best we can take this Kiswahili far away. As I told you, in the US already, we have got over 100 universities teaching Kiswahili. You've got Kiswahili through Radio China. We have through the BBC or through Deutsche Welle and elsewhere. So if we all can push from our own place, wherever we are, we push the promotion of Kiswahili, I can assure you we will have contributed so greatly to the unity and the peace of the minds of our people towards maximizing pleasure and minimizing people's pains. Inshallah. Amen.
Yes, please. A round of applause again. Asante sana, Amina. Wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much once again, Professor. And share those books that Professor has written so that members of AFRICASIA and all members from other countries can read them. So, ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes to the end, actually 1 minute, so before we close. So I shall, Fadia, our president in Canada, if you are in a position to say hi, please proceed. Fadia.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, Professor Malonga. I'm very
Hello.
happy. Hello, I'm very happy to hear you today. Thank you for giving us your time. I am Fatia from Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fadia. I can see Honorable Jean Pierre from Chad. If you're able to say hi, please proceed, Mr. Jean Pierre.
Merci beaucoup, professeur Malonga, pour la présentation. Je suis très ravi de cette diversité culturelle autour de la langue et j'apprécie cela. Je vais me mettre à apprendre le swahili très bientôt. Je vous encourage dans ce que vous faites. Toutes mes félicitations et allez de l'avant. Merci.
Merci.
Hello, Chad.
Oui.
Just as a matter of feeling, je voulais juste vous dire que j'étais à Darda l'autre jour.
Oh, d'accord. Mais ça, c'est une très bonne chose. Ça, c'est très bien, ça.
J'étais à Darda et je me rappelle bien de Tchad.
D'accord.
J'ai eu un bon appétit en mangeant le mouton tchadien.
Oh, c'est très appétissant. D'accord, d'accord. Ça, c'est bien. Merci beaucoup, professeur. Je vous en prie.
De l'autre côté du fleuve, chérie. C'est ça?
Du Chari, oui, je connais bien, je connais bien. Ça, c'est très bien. Ah, là, vous connaissez bien le Tchad. Ça, c'est très bien. Merci,
vers le Nigeria et le Cameroun. Tout à fait, tout près de la frontière tchado-camerounaise.
Nigérian.
Vers un peu là.
Merci,
professeur.
Allez, je vous en prie.
Merci, Gloria. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I didn't understand anything, but I will ask later because of time. So once again, thank you so much. Ezekiel, please, I'll hand the microphone to you to give a closing statement and then we round up the meeting. Okay, so all right, so please this is yes, Ezekiel.
Yes, so can you hear me? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. We are glad that you've joined us today. My name is Zuki Ezekiel from the Pan-African Organization for Peace and Conflict Resolution, and I'm happy that you've joined us today. So to just remind you that each and every Wednesday, we are going to be having our weekly webinars. Please just always remember to use the very same link that you've used today and also share with friends. And also, I want to take this special moment to thank Professor Pacifique Malonga. And he really took his time to come and speak to us today. And it's such a great honor to hear Professor Malonga speak to us. So we want to take this time as the Pan-African Organization for Peace and Conflict Resolution, also the organizing team. We want to take this solemn opportunity to thank Professor Pacifique Malonga